It's a difficult act to follow after everybody has been speaking about things that are tangible. I'm here to touch on to your emotional, because it's been an emotional journey to me. I didn't realize this until I got a call from TEDx about 8-9 weeks ago. And then I realized how big this was for not only me, my family, but the nation. As human beings, we celebrate the athletes because we think that is every individual in us has that supernatural being. And for that person that is courageous enough to put it on stage and excel in it shows us how much more we can push ourselves, both mind and body. I grew up in Kibra, which most people knew as Kibera, until very recently when there was boundary changes. So that is where I grew up, in a very competitive environment, starting from my house. There was 10 of us. There was 2 mothers, basically a polygamous family. There was relatives within ourselves in a 2-bedroom house. So you can imagine how the sleeping arrangement was. Competition for me was part of life. If I didn't make it early enough, the floor was my bed, and I probably won't get something to cover myself. Having said that, naturally I would have been a good sportsman, but I was a plum boy. I couldn't play soccer with the rest of the guys because I used to make a mess. My first encounter with rugby was through my mother, who gave birth to me when she was pretty young. And she told me she went to an exhibition match because she liked the way grown men were chasing after a ball and getting dirty, because then the season is played during the rainy season. So she found that amusing. I want to believe what she was saying because I was her son. But ladies, and those who watch sport, and especially rugby, we know why you go there. I started playing rugby when I was 16. Very little knowledge of the game, in fact, none at all. This is high school. And the reason why I picked it over all the other sports, of course, is my clumsiness. I'm too big to play soccer. I'm too heavy to jump for the hoops in basketball. I'm too rough to swing a hockey stick around. So I'm left to the sport that doesn't need much of fine skills. So it's carrying the ball, running into a guy, he tackles you, you place the ball for the next guy. Of course, in good time, I learned the ropes, and because there wasn't as many skilled people, except 1 or 2 other grown teammates that we learned from. So I picked the sport really quickly because it was my only way out. You had to play a sport, otherwise then you'd be bullied around by everyone else. And I wanted to be macho, and that was the sport that could have gotten me there. It came very naturally. Eventually, I made it to being national team captain, school captain by the time I was in the 3rd year. 4th year, I did both the coaching and the captaincy of the team, which was a great achievement. It's never been done before in the school. And therefore, that influence made rugby the sport of choice in Maseno School. That's where I went to school. So I went on to club rugby and said, this is where I was going to make it. And the club wasn't too far from my house, so it was walking distance. Every evening I would run there. That's after school. So I got to the club scene. This is Impala, 1995. I'm thinking, wow, it's a new field. Nobody knows me here. I come from the ghetto, as they call it. Rugby was an elitist sport then. Elitist because it was played by the people who knew how to speak English very well. I came from a place where we spoke Sheng mostly, and luckily I went to a good school where you had to speak English, so I adapted very quickly. So when I got there was a bit of accommodation for me. So one way of making it was making sure that I got felt, my presence was felt. To me, it was only one way. Because I was very good at tackling, I made sure that if it was about tackling, I made the hardest tackles in the field. And believe me, after the first week, the coach called me aside and said, would like you to be in the starting team. And that was the beginning of a journey that is long but a little short in terms of human years. If in a sevens game, the scores are the same because you score, try to get 5 points, and when you convert it, which is putting the ball over the sticks, it's 2 points. So I'd like you to do quick math. 14 minutes, and you concede 71 points. So you'd imagine how much back and forth we were running, not to score the tries, but to concede. That was the most annoying thing in my life. And not because we lost, it's because when we went back to the changing room and went back to sit and watch New Zealand make mince of everyone else, I looked about and saw my teammates very casual about our loss. Very, very casual. I thought it was time to make a difference. I said it to myself and not to anyone else because I did see like they were concerned. It was incentive enough to leave the country then. There wasn't money involved. There was no pride because you're the first ones to leave. So whatever you did, you came back and nobody really cared. To me, that was not enough. Honestly, I wanted to walk back home and say, I'm the guy who beat these guys and I am the king for now. So 99 is when the International Rugby Board introduced the circuit that is now on, the Grand Prix sort of competition. There was 10 tournaments then. And because of our dismal performance in the Commonwealth Games, nobody would take a risk with us and take us to 10 tournaments. So they gave us the two which was close, Dubai and South Africa, and they'll claim, hey guys, this is close to home, so that's why we put you in there. So what were we to say? That's a good trip to Dubai, a place I've never been, and to South Africa for the first time. So I looked about and said, oh, the team, same thing. People who were called said, oh, great stuff, guys, great stuff. I don't think we had an allowance then. No, it was $30 over 2 weeks. You'd imagine what you'd buy with $30. But since it's a currency you'd rarely touch, could buy a bottle of cologne, but you'd get to the airport and have a good look at the shops. You'd be treated very nicely. You'd go sleep in 5-star hotels. You know, there's this time we walked into a hotel, and I was the first one into the room. And when you walk in and switch on the telly, it says, welcome, Mr. Ayimba. I thought, oh my goodness. This time they got me. So those are sort of experiences we liked then. They encouraged us to play some more. It wasn't very pretty that year. We went lost in Dubai, lost in South Africa. Towards the end of that year, that was the beginning of the year because we usually played in South Africa in December. And then we had this, not stout, but a 6 foot, 130 kilograms guy from Cambria. If you look at the Cambrians, the ginger is quite huge. He's got a big head. It's a very nice chap. He was the development manager, and he called me aside and said, do you, for any reason, think we can't make it to the World Cup next year? The World Cup was being played in Argentina in 2001. This is 2000, just the beginning, after we've had a dismal performance in Dubai and South Africa the previous year. So he says, we've got an outside chance to qualify for the World Cup. And that is only in 5 months. The qualifying tournaments were being played in June. So I sit around and tell him, with the sort of team that we've got, I don't think there's any sort of inspiration that will drive us to that point. However, I personally feel if there was 5, 6 of me, would fight it out. And I gave him the challenge. If you are able to influence the coach to get in 5, 6 influential guys, then I'll be happy. When I said that, my club was the most successful sevens-wise at that time. And then my coach was then appointed as the national team coach. And all of a sudden, I had the teammates that I had in the club with me in the national team. I thought, wow, this is huge. It caused an uproar. There was the World Cup team that was named had 7 out of 10. 7 of us from Impala out of 10 possible positions. So you can imagine all the other clubs complaining, but that is neither here nor there. One of the biggest things happened to me in Argentina that is a process to how my growth has been through this journey. There's this game that we're playing against Argentina, which was our first game, and playing at home. You do not want to meet any Argentinian in a crowd of even 5, even if you're racing cockroaches. Those guys are intimidating, thoroughly intimidating. We're in the changing room, which is underneath the stands, and the whole stadium is trembling because these guys are jumping up and down the stands, and the whole building is vibrating, and you're thinking, wow, this is definitely going to fall. And when you walk out to the tunnel, across the tunnel, I could see them waving those flags, and there was a slight drizzle. And the captain has come out, his shirt untucked, his socks to the bottom. I'm wondering, what decorum? Before I could think of how he was dressed, he came out running with his hair, shaking the water around, and I was mesmerized. I was trying to jog into the field. And when he got to the line, just when he got to the line, he booted the ball across to the other side. It's never happened. This guy is crazy. What's happening? This is rugby sevens. I turned to my guys, and I was wondering, all of them were also mesmerized. I felt a chill down my spine and wondered, what the hell is happening here? So we got into the field. In the same confusion, they got a few tries across us. We made a few mistakes, and when we went to the half, the coach is wondering, so why you guys, what's happening? And I told him, no, it's just we're getting our things sorted. And by the end of the game, it was a very good game, and we walked out. However, one good thing happened in that game. We beat France, and that set us up for our confidence growth. So through that, we came into 2001, through 2001, playing 2 tournaments, and on the 2003 season, the International Rugby Board invited us to Hong Kong, which is a big tournament. It's the only tournament that is a prize money tournament. So the winners are given $100,000, and it goes all the way down to the quarterfinalists who get about $10,000. And believe it or not, our motivation for going to that tournament was to try and have a go at the $100,000. It was, by all means, it wasn't going to be possible. But I was leading the team, and therefore you'd expect me to tell them that it was reachable, and they believed in my crazy ideas by then. So we went on to play the games, and the most crucial game was Australia on the day. I was the captain then, so we play until full time. The hooter goes. In rugby union, when the hooter goes, you can still play along until the ball goes dead. By going dead, it means there's a knock-on, or you've kicked it out, or the ball is out of boundary. So what happens is we had possession, trying to score, and Australia were really, really desperate trying to defend. And they conceded a penalty right in front of it wasn't right in front of the post, but it was a kickable penalty. And there was Oscar Osir, my good friend, who was a senior player then, clubmate. And I looked at him and said, you know what we need to do here. I cooled everyone down and told them, guys, relax. This guy has to take this kick. And all our dreams as a nation lie with this guy. From today onwards, please believe in what I say. This is the guy who's going to change Kenya Rugby. And I went and whispered to Oscar, you know you're on your own. So everyone stood back. If you missed the kick, the game was over anyway. So it was a do-or-die situation. And the first time in my life, I see Oscar picking up the ball and taking a deep breath. My goodness, this guy just doesn't believe in himself. I almost changed my mind then, but I thought, okay, fine, it's done. That was the longest 2 seconds in my life. I think I can still see the ball flying through the air. There was a slight drizzle as well. The game was being played in the evening. So the ball is flying, and for a moment I froze that ball and looked at the crowd and the players, And then it flew again, and I looked at the crowd and the players. And as it was flying, I'm wondering, at what point does it cross the bar? And actually, when the ball crossed the bar, I was not looking that way. I was actually looking at my players. I didn't realize the kick was in until Bill came jumping onto me. I'm thinking, so what really happened? We won the game. We beat Australia for the first time, 2003. In 2006, when we were appointed coaches, Oscar, myself, and Felix, we made one decision, to win the World Cup in 2009. You can imagine how ridiculous that sounded. 2009, 2006, 2009, winning the World Cup. So everyone laughed and fell on the floor. That was no problem. So during our preparations, we got to the finals. In the 2008-9 season, we got the finals of the Australia leg, where we lost to South Africa. Came the World Cup. We played so well. And on the third day, in the tunnel, I remember saying, we need a winning side. And when the team list came, and I made the alterations, and it was only me who had believed in that team. I looked at the team sheet 3 times, and that was because I was against, it went against 2 or 3 other guys who were helping me with selection and had the best time in our life. We beat Fiji 26-5 to get to the World Cup semifinals. The reason why that was big is, you remember the team that beat us 10 years ago, 71-0? That is the team we beat 26-5. So all in all, and in conclusion, everything that we set our minds to, might sound cliche, but can be done. From the humble beginnings of Kenya Rugby Sevens, humble beginnings of Benjamin Ayimba, all this can be done. And we could have another kid from somewhere else standing here 20 years from now and giving even a more powerful story. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.